All right, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. As you know, I'm traveling at the moment, and it was a joy to be able to go live yesterday and have everybody gathered so we can talk about this Vybz Kartel case. The issue is I was not able to give you everything yesterday because the sound went out on the video. Now, I find it very suspicious when you start getting into certain details that the sound goes out on your videos. But that's another topic to be discussed on another day. If you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is about to get real spicy. And I mean real spicy. All right? Subscribe to the channel and enjoy the content. Now, we already talked about what's going on in the Vybz Kartel case, what to expect, as they are now in the process of standing before the appeal court. And the appeal court will decide either they will go with the prosecution side, the Department of Prosecution, who is seeking a retrial, or they will go with Vybz Kartel and the rest of the guys, lawyers, defense side, who are saying a retrial would not work and they do not want one. End of the day, we will find out. But if you watch the first half of this video, then you will know what my thoughts are on what is about to happen as far as a retrial goes. Now, let's continue, because this is the second half that you did not hear. All right? So, school is in session. This is the headline that the Gleaner used. School is in session. To me, just a simple continuation of the language of school is in session, or school or schooling shows me X amount of bias. And when I say X amount of bias, I'm talking about Isaac Buchanan being the first person to use the word school, and now all the judges are using the same word, school and schooled and schooling. Isaac Buchanan merely said there was a lacuna in the law, and he believes that there is nothing written in law that could back up or substantiate Vybz Kartel and the rest of the guys being locked behind bars still after the Privy Council has already quashed their conviction. So he was seeking bail for them ahead of the appeal hearing, which is now in process. The judge said, after Isaac said, Your Honor, school me, because that is why I'm here. That's saying that is why I'm here. I'm here to learn from you. So the judge says you will be schooled in tomorrow's judgment. You will be schooled in tomorrow's judgment. Already told me that that judge had already made up her mind and already knew exactly what she was going to say in the day to come, which she did. She denied the bail for the guys, albeit with good reason. Now, when the start of the appeal hearing was on the way, the Jamaica Gleaner said, school is in session. But school is in session was the words used by one of the three judges on the appeal panel. The appeal panel consists of three judges who will hear both the defense side and the prosecution side and decide if there will be a retrial or an acquittal, etc., etc. My problem with this is they are all connected, they are all friends, and they all have a vendetta. It is clear to see. And I've said this before, from the first trial, the judge sided in a mistake with Paula Llewellyn, which I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was planned between that judge and Paula Llewellyn. She's the head of the DPP, Department of Public Prosecution. She wasn't even the one that was seeing the case through in court. She even said she would only show up to court to give those attorneys from her Department of Public Prosecution the department she is the head of, she would show up to give them some moral support. So the judge calling her into chambers to discuss the case. Yes, there is something in the law that allows for her to be called into the chambers to discuss the case or to weigh her opinion on what the direction of the case should look like at that moment. But she wasn't the attorney who was working on the case, who was prosecuting the case. And this is how Paula Llewellyn became the face of the Vybz Kartel case. I want y'all to think about that. And then the judge actually sided with her when she said she's prepared to sweep this mistake under the rug, pretend it's a real mistake, and move forward with the case. Why did he not side with the other attorneys who were representing the defense? Why did the judge not side with them when they said we should not go any further than this? We need to do it by the books, get fresh new jurors, start over, something. Right. So that's the first judge that sided with Paula, or the DPP. And then it went to the Court of Appeals after conviction, the same court it's in now. And a panel of 3 judges saw the same mistake and overlooked it. It's no longer a mistake. It's 4 judges and the head of the Department of Public Prosecution, which at the time was Paula Llewellyn. So that's 5 highly skilled, highly learned people pretending to make a mistake, knowing damn well all along that they were simply ignoring law to have the desired outcome that they desired, of course, right? So now here we are, back at this same place again, the Court of Appeals. They are all friends with Paula Llewellyn, and they are all trying to save face. Because, again, they got taken all the way to the Privy Council, they got beat at Privy Council, and they got exposed at Privy Council. So now it's all about schooling, because they have to make the public know that they are the superior ones. They are the intelligent ones. So they have to school now. I won't call this a rumor. A lot of people know about this. But I want you to understand this piece of information I'm about to say next. This piece of information I'm about to say next. You must understand that at the time when Vybz Kartel was incarcerated, arrested, and then went to trial and convicted, that amounts to about 10 to 12 years ago. So that's a decade plus 2 years ago. So I'll give you a quick math. Anybody who was 10 back then is 20 to 22 years old today. Anybody who was 15 back then is what? 37, almost 40 years old today from a 15-year-old, right? So what that says is this. The piece of information I'm about to give, some people know about it, but this case has spanned over a decade and has gained new audience and new interest. So I have to explain it to those who do not know. There was a huge sex scandal concerning Vybz Kartel. Huge sex scandal concerning Vybz Kartel. Back then, the sex scandal was about Vybz Kartel sleeping with the wives of some very powerful men in Jamaica. Now you have to understand, when the teacher, Vybz Kartel, that's probably another reason they're using the word schooled, because we call him the teacher, and the court system is saying, teacher, teach what? Teacher teaching at school, where he might try to teach the youths them. So we're going to school them, right? Okay, that's another look at it. Not only the fact that Isaac Buchanan asked the judge to school him. Now, back to the sex scandal. It was popularly known back then Who knows, knows. Who don't know is about to find out. Vybz Kartel sex scandal at the height of his fame. He had lots of money. He had his own TV show. He had his own liquor line, Vybz Rum. He had his own clothing line. He had his own record company. He had his own group. He had his own everything going on. A serial entrepreneur that was very successful. He was involved with Corey Todd back then. They were partners investing in, I don't know, real estate, not real estate, but nightclub ventures, stuff like that. Just say it like this. Vybz Kartel was making a whole lot of money, and he was hugely popular back then. Of course, along with that, remember the song, Freaky gal them in love. Freaky gal them in love. Kartel kind of ushered in the freaky gal era, okay? He made it okay for women to say, yes, I'm a freaky gal. Yes, my love into certain things, blah, blah, blah. Before that, it was all about men speaking about what they want from women and what a woman must do and should do, right? Like Baby Sham said, a witch gal says she not suck. Right now, what that run the cut. All right. So Kartel brought in the freaky gal era. So the women them felt empowered and they started speaking about how freaky they were. But behind the scenes of all that came a lot of sexual activities. Kartel was running through a lot of women. And some of these women happened to be the wives of some prominent men in Jamaica, or the adult daughters of some prominent men in Jamaica. We're talking about men who are wealthy, they are powerful, and they are highly connected in Jamaica. They did not take kindly to how braggadocious Vybz Kartel was. They did not take kindly to all his antics, his and how he moved and spoke of himself in the third person. They did not take kindly to how he was somebody that they could not put under control. He used to call himself a bad slave, right? That means slave upon the plantation, but you can't tame me. And worse, he had a lot of money and a lot of fame, so he seemed like he was untouchable to a lot of people. However, we all know that artist money is very different from corporate money and old money. Right. So once they got wind that Vybz Kartel had been sleeping with their wives, it was exposed. And once they got wind that he was sleeping with their wives and sleeping with their daughters, it got bad. It got to the point where people wanted revenge. Now, if you're highly connected and you're wealthy and you're powerful, what do? You pull strings within the system. Your friends are judges. Your friends are high-profile attorneys. Your friends are the judges that make the ultimate decision, the judge that will oversee your case, the Department of Public Prosecution head, which is like Paula Llewellyn at the time, right? So based on all that, Vybz Kartel started coming under a lot of fire because there were men in places of power and positions of power who wanted revenge. Today in 2024, I won't say right now where it came from, how I know, or who it is, but a lot of people are aware of this. There is a particular individual, we now call name yet now. There is a particular individual who is wealthy, powerful, who has connections within the justice system in high places. And that individual will do everything in his power to make sure that Vybz Kartel remains behind bars. And yes, It's a pussy feelings thing that's going on. So when a lot of people say stuff like, damn, SouFLo, they must have, it must be something else why they want Vybz Kartel behind bars so bad, because we've seen many murder cases and they never end up like, they don't go this hard and direct for them. What's going on? What is it behind the scenes? Well, my friend, it is a couple of things, and this is just another angle to it. Vybz Kartel, pardon my language, I don't really like to curse in my videos, but Vybz Kartel basically FUUKKKED a couple of powerful men's wives and adult daughters, and that is where the problem lies, along with everything else that been going on. Now, to end all this, the worst case scenario in this, I said before that they are definitely going to grant a retrial, and the reason they're going to grant a retrial is not because the DPP is going to come up with any solid anything that can stand up in court and give them a conviction in this case, because this case is actually shattered. Just the fact that they will have to contend about the telephone that was taken out of the evidence room by a police officer, that alone can see this case go all the way to the Privy Council and get thrown out again, or get another conviction quashed again. Which at this point, I think the Privy Council would definitely understand that, hey, there's a big bias here. Throw the case out. He will never get a fair trial in Jamaica. Not only that, they are hoping that by the time they take this to trial again, that the Privy Council will no longer be Jamaica's top tier court. Aha, y'all not thinking about that. Now the worst case scenario is a retrial, right? If they grant a retrial, then the judge will go ahead and say bail with conditions. Those conditions could mean you surrender all your travel documents, you report to such place at such time, and then when all the hype surrounding this case goes away, then we will hear suddenly, when nobody really cares about the outcome of the case, because Kartel will have been free on bail so long that we forgot that he was on bail and just think that he was free, they will slowly loosen the reins until you hear, well, the case no longer stands, right? I want to close this by giving you two things. Paying attention right now to a case in the U.S. against rapper Young Thug, the RICO case out of Atlanta, Georgia. There's a situation called an ex parte communication, in which the judge in that case had a secret meeting with the prosecution. Now, you can imagine a judge having a secret meeting with prosecution and defense is not allowed to be there. This could very much end up in the judge and the prosecution forming a relationship, a bond, a understanding, and then the judge ruling in a biased manner in favor of the prosecution because they've been doing this ex parte communication. In law, it's called ex parte. In Vybz Kartel's case, it's called a regular thing. Prosecution meets with judges without defense being present. I want y'all to think about that. So it won't be any surprise when the judges make biased decisions that benefit the prosecution because they've been meeting in ex parte communication. Now, the last thing I will say in this case is this. Again, for the people who say Jamaica don't give bail to murderers or to people who are charged with murder. Very popular case. Remember the Beachy Stout case? Well, Beachy Stout's co-accused, Oscar Barnes. Oscar Barnes, my friend, was charged with murder, but Oscar Barnes was pointed out to be the actual killer. Remember, the original hitman said, by Beachy Stout's specific directions. I don't want you to shoot her that too easy. I want her stab up, throat cut, car set on fire. The guy said, I don't know how to kill nobody with no knife, like stab them up and stuff. So him hire somebody to do it. And they was gonna split the $3 million. And that's how Oscar Barnes came into the picture, right? According to the original hitman that was hired by Beachy Stout. Now, while this was going on, this guy, the original hitman, confessed to the judge. He told the judge exactly how Oscar Barnes killed Tanya McDonald. She was in the front seat of the car. She was the one that was driving. She trusted him, so he told her where to drive in the dark hours of the night. She drove up into some dark place, and he even cried in court and said she would have never went into that dark place had he not told her to go there. But because she trusted him so much, she followed his directions, knowing well that the guy in the back seat, his friend, was there to kill her. And this was going to be her last day on earth. He went further to describe cold, callous action of how Oscar Barnes grabbed Tanya McDonald's head around the headrest as she was sitting in the front seat and the driver's seat, and he was sitting behind her, grabbed her head, pinned her from behind to the chair, and began stabbing her chest. We know now that she received about 9 stabs to her chest area. I want you to feel your chest. It's mostly bones beneath your mass of fat. So he stabbed her multiple times in her chest. He cut her throat. He set the car on fire. That guy received bail after such a confession. Bail. This is somebody who the courts should have looked at and said, oh my God, if you can do such a brutal killing to somebody who has no dealings with you, did not offend you in any way, only because a $3 million was offered to do it, you're a dangerous person. You shouldn't be in society. What if we let you go and tomorrow somebody says, here is $1 million to do the same thing to somebody else? You'll probably do it. But no, the court gave him bail. Oscar Barnes was then brought back into custody, locked up again when the case started. Remember, Beachy Stout case remained on bail for years. So when the case finally went to court now, they put Oscar Barnes back in custody and then gave him bail again. So the whole time they were going to trial, he was on bail again. He was on bail so long, he started a family, he got married, he was getting ready to fly out of the country, pending the end of this trial, etc. Bail. So when y'all talk about Vybz Kartel shouldn't get bail, I want you to consider all these cases I've shown you of people who have gotten bail after they were charged with murder, and gruesome murder, I might add. With that said, this is the second half of the video. The first half is called Vybz Kartel Crucifixion Attempt Has Begun, and it also has the Tory Lanez wife files divorce 1 year into his 10-year bid. That's the first half of this video. The second half is this. Shout out to the people who tune in on a regular basis. Shout out to the new people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.